Okay, we talked a little bit about the user interface before. We talked about the menu bar on top, the search option. I really like the search option. That's pretty cool. And then we talked a little bit about the command manager up here. We talked a lot more about the manager's bar up here, which contains the feature manager, the properties manager, configuration manager. We're going to cover that a little bit later too. Dimension expert and display manager. And we're going to cover those a little bit later. We also have another item up here too called the Heads Up View Toolbar. We didn't really talk about that before, but that's probably worth looking at. So a couple different buttons up here, just real quick buttons. There's no pull downs with these, but they're zoom to fit. The zoom to area, so if you want to zoom in an area, it'll allow you to do that, and then go back to zoom to fit. We'll take you back there. And then it's going to maintain those buttons too. Like with the zoom to area, it's always going to be active unless you unclick it. So zoom to area. We're going to go back to zoom to fit. Zoom to area is still there, so now we can do this back and forth if you want to do that until you click that again. Previous view goes back to the previous view that you had, which is kind of cool. And then again, zoom to fit will allow you to put it back together again. And of course, zoom to fit, it tells you what the shortcut key is if you just rest your cursor over that, or any of the tools that are over here. Section view allows you to section your model. You can do front view, top view, or right view. It'll just section it. If you go to the green check mark, it maintains that section until you go back up here and select it one more time. View orientation. This is pretty cool, and it gives you the capacity to either do the front view, right view, top view. Also gives you the capacity to go over here and actually choose this plane over here for the left view, that plane over here for the back view, this plane for the bottom view. So if we want to do the bottom view, since we can't really turn that and select it that way, if we just click on this, it gives us the capacity to actually go in the bottom there. If we go back there and do view orientation and just rest it over there just a little bit more, now it comes up with some basic views over here. So if we don't know really what view we're looking at, if we can go over here and default maybe to the front view, now we see what that view is going to be. And we get our view orientation icon back and be able to use that too. So let's get that back. Let's go to perhaps an isometric view, the way we had it before. So one other item up here that I like to show you in the view orientation are some of these buttons up here. We're going to cover this in a little bit more detail later, but we are going to be creating new views. I'm going to show you how to do that as we get towards drawing, so you can take those views and actually import them into a drawing. Another way to get to that view element up here, the view orientation, is to click on the spacebar. Spacebar is the biggest button on the keyboard. When you're clicking that, you're going to get the same elements here. So view orientation actually comes out over here as a separate dialog box. Okay, moving on. This is kind of good. Display style. With the display style, we've been working primarily with shaded with edges, but there are other elements in here too that you might find useful. This is also going to become more useful when we get into drawings a little bit later in the quarter. But shaded with edges also comes with shaded. So now you take the black lines off of shaded with edges, and you're actually getting rid of those black lines. So instead of outlining it like that, you actually can see the edges as being the way they would normally be. Something else over here is hidden. Hidden lines removed actually. So if we were to move that down, hidden lines removed means that there are lines in the background over here that would normally not display in shaded or shaded with edges. They're not displayed here too for hidden lines removed, but these lines really are in the background. So we do have a line that goes from that point over here to a point that would extend under there. They would be part of the back view and the left view over here, and the bottom view too. So those are removed. Essentially it's just shaded with edges without any color to it. So the next item down here is going to be hidden lines visible. So what that does is it brings those hidden lines back here where we could actually select them, which might be very useful when you get into assemblies. You need to select some elements in the background, and it shows them as hidden lines over here, and they make them selectable too. Notice that they are gray, which means they're in the background, and they do have that dash line, which is a hidden line line type. And of course, the last one is wireframe. Wireframe is a little bit tricky on the eyes, but there is an application for that. But it does show you all the lines of equal line weight, and they're easily selectable in the modeling area. So if we go back to our display style, we're going to get out of wireframe and go back up here with shaded with edges, what we're familiar with. The next item over here is hide and show. It's a general hide and show. It's a master of the things we can hide and show in our model. So for instance, let's go ahead and take maybe our top plane. Let's go ahead and show that, and maybe our front plane too. So we're going to right click on that in our feature manager tree, and we're going to tell it to show. So what this does is it provides an override to what we're looking at here. So if we were to pull this down, we could tell it to hide or show view plans. We can view the plans or not view them. And it's going to override that. So notice that they're blue over here, which means they're showing. If we were to click on that, it still shows them showing over here, but it takes them out of the modeling area. We can go back over here and turn them back on, and now they're going to show in the modeling area. The one next to that is hide, show primary plane. So if we click on that, now everything turns blue over here and are visible in the modeling area. If we were to click on that one more time, now they're not visible in the modeling area and they're not blue over here in a feature manager. So a couple things we could do there. So we don't want to turn those on necessarily right now, but other options in here include axes, points, coordinate systems, stuff we're going to be covering this quarter, and other things we're not. So if we want to, and let's go ahead and click on the outside over here, and let's take our sketch over here. We could turn that on. Even though that sketch is embedded into that feature, we could take that sketch and tell it to show. We can right click on that sketch and tell it to show. That light gray line that was there before is now blue. You could actually see it in here. So now we can go back up here and we can tell it to hide and show items. So now we can tell it to view sketches. Even though it's showing over here, it overrides that. And we can go back over here and tell it to view those sketches again. So we could also, if we were to right click inside that sketch, open that up. Some elements in here we can turn on and off. So if we go to the master menu up here for hide show items, we can tell it to not show dimensions. We can tell it not show sketch relations, and it takes those off the screen. And of course, we do really want to show those, so we're going to bring those back. So it's kind of a master hide show of all the things you can see in your modeling area and over here in your feature manager, but primarily it's in the modeling area, and that's up here in the heads up view toolbar. Okay, so let's go ahead and rebuild our model, and let's take a look at some of this. So we're going to take our sketch over here in our feature manager, and we're just going to tell it to hide. Okay, the next item over here is edit appearance. We're going to cover this when we get to Photo View 360 here in a couple weeks, because all these are kind of related, and there's a couple different ways of getting to the same thing. You can go to edit appearance here, we can go over here to our display manager, or we can go over here to our task pane, which we're going to cover here in just a minute. We could also apply a scene. And again, that's all going to be related to Photo View 360, so we're going to cover that at a later time. And in the lab, view settings. Real view graphics is convenient sometimes, but sometimes it creates very dark surfaces or very light surfaces, and sometimes it's hard to model. I would suggest just turning that off for now, and then when you want to do some photo view render into something that approaches that, you can probably turn that back on. In shadows and shaded mode, sometimes that gets in the way too. So typically in the lab, I would just turn those two items off. So over here is our task pane. We can start at the very top. Right now is a SolidWorks resources. Again, if you take your cursor and just rest it over that, it shows you what's in there. So you can actually open up a new document over here. You can go to open an existing document or go to a new document. Tutorials. There's SolidWorks tutorials that you can get into. So these are all available on as part of the program. And let's go ahead and close that out and make this normal too. Yeah, so online training. You can go to, it'll take you to the SolidWorks website and give you some resources that you can go to. There's a lot of links in here to give you some assistance in SolidWorks if you need it. SolidWorks tools. You might want to check out some of these tools in here. Your products, if you're buying SolidWorks products, to tell you what you own and what you have licenses for when they expire and stuff like that. Property tab builder, if you want to build up some extra elements into certain properties and some tools, you could do that there too. SolidWorks RX, if your SolidWorks keeps crashing, it might point out if you do RX outside of SolidWorks, you might be able to solve some of those problems for you. There's just a lot of resources here. And community down here too, the community area down here too, is actually fairly helpful. You can go to the customer portal, have some questions in there. Users groups, there's one in Yakima. You're welcome to join us. If you go there, it'll take you to the user group website, and typically bumps you out of there and puts you in there. And then discussion forum, technical alerts and news, and so on and so forth. This is really kind of fun up here. This is What's New button up here. It's a PDF document. It's available with SolidWorks, and it tells you what's new in each version of SolidWorks. So we have a new version coming out 2018, and again, it's just packed full of enhancements. This document is about 220 pages long of everything that's new in SolidWorks. So we're learning just a little bit here in this class, but there is a whole lot to learn, a lot of enhancements that come with SolidWorks every year. It's what makes a program so versatile and so well used and well liked by a lot of people. So, yeah, boy, that's really well-winded. So that's SolidWorks resources. Okay, some more elements in our task manager. We're going to use this a lot, the design library. You can start at the very top up here and work your way down. You can insert and save different elements within your library for annotations, assemblies, features, parts, sketch elements in here too. Weldment profiles are all available here. Toolbox is a real cool one. We're going to get into that a little bit later when we start doing Hole Wizard. 3D Content Central, I have some content up there. Look for garden hose. I have a garden hose in there. And if you want to download a model, for instance, one of my students is doing a pump. You might want to consider downloading a model of a pump, of a motor for that pump. And it gives you the capacity to go there and download models and contribute to the to 3D Content Central some of the models you might have that you might be willing to share with other people. SolidWorks content takes you to the SolidWorks website and allow you to download blocks, routing elements in here, a routing library, and weldments too. So you can click on that. It actually will give you a zip file that you can put in a location of your choosing, and then add that into your modeling as you're putting your SolidWorks models together. File Explorer, just another way of getting into SolidWorks and being able to find your way around. It just takes you right to your computer. It shows you the different shortcuts on your desktop. It's the different drives on your computer and different files associated with that. When it gets to drawing, the View palette will give you all the different views you can insert into a drawing. That's really convenient. We'll cover that when we get to drawings. Again, another way to get to appearances over here, scenes and decals. We'll cover that here in a bit when we get to Photo View 360. Custom properties, we're going to apply that a little bit later too, but we're going to cover that at a different time. And eventually, and finally, down here, SolidWorks Forum, as part of the task pane over here, gives you the capacity to go in here and actually see what people are talking about, or you can enter a subject in here that you might want to take a look at. So that takes you, it's kind of a web-based platform in here, and it shows you whatever topic you might be looking for, like maybe SolidWorks World, and see what people might be saying about SolidWorks World. One thing that comes up here over here is the SolidWorks 2018 launch event recap. So that's somebody's recap. We haven't had ours yet. We're going to have ours in Yakima here in just about 2 weeks. So somebody did a recap on that. And just gives you the capacity outside of a website to be able to view some of the content of the SolidWorks forum. If you haven't joined the forum yet, go ahead and sign up. It asks for a little bit of personal information, but if you're a SolidWorks user, I go to the forum a couple times a week, a few times a week. I find it to be very beneficial. Okay, so we talked about user interface with a little bit more detail. What we talked about a little bit more is the command manager and all the different tabs associated with the command manager. We also talked about the heads-up view toolbar and some of the elements over here, and the task pane over here too. And as we approach some of these items as we go through the quarter and go through some of these videos, we're going to talk about each one of these elements that we went over relatively quickly with a little bit more detail. But at least you know what's here, and you have a pretty good idea where to look if you need to find some specific things that we talked about today.